So the reason I spend a lot of the time in the cornerstones is, and we go through respect like this, and I tell a story on every single one of them, is because we're trying to create top of mind awareness. People only know what they think they know, right? So somebody may not realize that they have a problem with taxes when they start pulling retirement money out. We've got to keep planting the seed of thinking, making people think, yeah, you know what, that is a problem for me. Mm-hmm. Again, this stuff is sold, it's not bought. So we got to create the top of mind awareness that they may have an issue and they may have stuff to go through, because there's no pain, there's no sale. So we go through this, tell the story in what it is, and then we get to the conversation about saying, you know, most of these concerns are really future concerns of where people want to be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now within their financial plan, and they're all similar future concerns. So what we like to do, Linda, is we like to find out kind of where you are from a baseline perspective, where you are today, and I write this down on a pad like this, exactly as it is on the sheet, and then I'll draw a line and say, where do you want to be in the future when you get to those things, when we talk about where it is. The next part is the T of the framework of the typically. You know, typically, Linda, these meetings are going to end one of three ways. The first way is based on how I answered your questions. You're just going to decide we're not a good fit, and you know we're not going to work together. Secondly is based on how you answered my questions. I'm going to say you got everything under control, and anything we would do would only muddy the waters. You're doing a nice job. But thirdly, and most commonly, Maddie, is based on how we answered each other's questions. We're going to find value in the process and room for growth. More importantly, I want to make it okay for us to tell each other no. Is that fair? It's just transition language of what it is that we do. So again, if you like, as I said, you know, we want to find more out from a baseline perspective. And if you're open to it, I'd like to find out where you are from there. And if you're like most people, you probably have some kind of group insurance through your job, through your work. And if we talk about retirement planning of where you are, of who you're working with, most people have some kind of 401k. David, do you have a 401k through where you work?
Yep.
You know, a little role play, right? Now we're doing the fact finding from the lead-in from the respect talk. Okay, so who's your 401k through? How much are you contributing? Do you have a match on it? What kind of funds are you using? Do you have an ability to do in-service withdrawals? Just questions as you go down as you're doing the fact-finding here. So I write it down and right under there and say, yes, I have a 401k. It's through Fidelity. I do a 10% contribution with a 4% match. It's about $150,000 of value. It's in mutual funds, which are target date, and I don't get any support through my company to do it. So now we're just doing a fact find, and we're asking questions to drive the pain and create top of mind awareness in what it is. This is a more conversational fact find than sitting there with a forecaster and going, do you have a 401k? Yes, you know, and filling it out like that. It's conversational. They will lead the conversation as it goes through. So I'll go through each one. If you're like most people, you probably have your medical insurance through your job. Guys, our advisors are not talking about what they have as benefits.
They're not reviewing them either.
I'll say, who do you have? Yes, I have it. Yes, I have Aetna. It's a PPO. It's a $5,000 deductible. It's a 20/40 copay with a 50% RX, and I pay $1,000 a month. I'm getting the info because I'm asking the questions in every kind of component. If you're like most people, you probably have some group life. David, do you have group life through your job?
I do.
Typically, when companies give you group life, they typically give you 1 or 2 times salary for free and give you an option to buy up. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So, how much coverage do you think you have through work?
300,000.
300,000. And have you bought up at all?
No.
So, is it 1 times or 2 times you get for free? Do you know?
1 times.
Okay. So automatically through the questioning, not only have I found out his life insurance, I've also found out what?
His income.
How much money he makes, right? Because it's 1 time salary, he makes $300,000. So we question it through, he gets 1 times free, 5 times total for $500,000, he pays $50 a month. We're really spending time now getting to know the people from a baseline perspective. If you're like most people, you probably have some kind of disability insurance in case you get sick or hurt and can't go to work. Most people will tell you that what they have no clue of their plan, but most people will say, most companies give you about 60%. Does that sound about right? And say, yeah, 60%, and then we'll talk about other things inside of that. Do you know what the definition of disability is? Do you have an option to buy up inside of it? Do you know what the benefit period is? Can you find out that information? We're doing a fact find as we go through it. Do Do you have some kind of group long-term care? Most people do not. If we don't have it, we just put an X down there. And I put an X down there because I want them to see what?
Nothing.
Visually, they have a gap, right? So I'll put a red X right there, right in front of them, and it's okay. I want them to feel okay, not being okay, and that's another part of the system as we go through it. If you're like most people, you probably have a pension, and I'll talk about pension planning. Yesterday's retirement income, a lot of weight was put on the pension and Social Security. In today's day and age, there's a lot less pensions that are available, and more weight is being put on people's nest eggs for taking income in retirement. Do you have a pension where you work? Most people will say no. Put in a big X there. Why? Because I want to create pension income through an annuity source of moving their assets around. When we get into the planning stage, we all know this as advisors, but they don't know where it is that you're going. So I want them to know that there's a gap there as well. And based on that fact that most people don't have the pensions in companies, and they're having to do a lot more outside of their job, outside of their employment, most people are having to do a lot more on what we call individual benefits. If you're like most people, Mike, you probably own some life insurance on an individual basis. Do you own any life insurance? Yes, I have a MetLife term policy. I bought it 10 years ago. It's a 20-year term. It's $500,000, and it costs me $100 a month. It's a question where you go. What was the purpose of purchasing the term insurance? And I write it down along the way. It was to protect my mortgage at the time. It was a new mortgage. When was the last time you updated it? What's changed since you updated it? Well, I've had kids. Okay, is that coverage still right? So you're questioning as you go through it and creating it. I feel like most people, when we talk about the disability, there's usually a gap between coverage based on your income, simply because the majority of the time, what you have through disability coverage through work is taxable. So there can be an income gap of where you need to be and what it is that you make it. If you're like most people, you probably have some kind of individual disability coverage to cover that income gap if you would get sick or hurt. Most people say what?
No.
So what am I putting there?
Big X.
Big X, because we have a gap. If you're like most people, you probably have an individual long-term care policy, or you've done something to offset the case of when you get to retirement, and when you plan for 30 years of retirement, to offset the cost of needing care. Have you done anything to protect yourself and your assets in the future should you need a long-term care situation or a chronic illness situation? Most people say what?
No.
Boom, big X, right there. They've got a gap. If you're like most people, you probably have a brokerage account, individual investments, and non-qualified money. Do you have any managed money accounts? Do you have any brokerage accounts? Where are your savings accounts? I got managed money, it's $250,000. I'm charged 2%. I have mutual funds, $50,000. I contribute $500 a month into it, and I have a few stocks through my E-Trade account, which I just play with. Right, that's typically what we hear as we go through it. So we're finding about where all that non-qualified money is as well. Do you have any 529 plans? Do you have any savings plans for the kids' education? Let them know what it is. Yes, I have an 11-year-old son. I have $55,000 saved. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I have $35,000 saved, and I do $200 a month into it. They're both with Franklin Templeton, which is a New Jersey state plan. Are you aware of how New Jersey works in terms of what it is that you can do on the tax bonuses and everything like that? You question what it is. If they don't have Franklin Templeton, you tell a story about the New Jersey plan and why somebody might think about doing it. I don't know. You got to have the stories of in there as well. Do you have any IRAs that you set up, or do you have any old 401ks that are sitting in old companies? Yes, I have a whole Vanguard 401k that's got about $125,000 sitting inside of it. So we're digging in what it is that we do. Where's your savings account? $55,000 in cash. What's that there for? Is that your safety net? What is the purpose of that money? You're digging into why it's there. Somebody might say, I had a meeting with Kevin 2 weeks ago. A woman down the street working at Johnson & Johnson, she's got $500,000 sitting in a savings account. Swear to God. Okay. Good prospect, right? So anyway, people have that in there. What's the point of that? Her point was eventually maybe she wants to buy some real estate. So they have a purpose of what it would be. But aside from the real estate, what do we need to have there liquid? What's 3 to 6 times income that you want to be protected to make sure that we're okay? And then the third component of somebody's financial plan is on the legal side. If you look at the legal side with kids and everything you do, when was the last time you updated your will? The people will tell you. I did it 10 years ago when we first got married. It's not been updated since I had any kids. Okay? What about powers of attorney and guardianship for the kids? In the state of New Jersey, blah, blah, blah. You tell a story, they'll tell you what it is. Most people say no. They don't have that. What about trust? Do you have any trust set up? Most people will say no. So I'll go through all of this and I'll get the fact find. This probably takes 15 to 20 minutes as we're asking questions to go through this. And I'll sit there and I'll say, David, from where you sit, does this look like a pretty good snapshot of your financial life?
Yeah.
What else is missing? I don't need Mike a 20-page fact find to find out the details. I can do it on one page of this. While I'm telling stories, making it conversational, and kind of creating top of mind awareness with what people might be thinking of what it is that they want to do. And this is what I do. So then I'll say, okay, if this is a good snapshot of where it is that, from where you sit, a good snapshot of your financial life, David, from where you sit, what's jumping out of the page? Where do you want to start?
What's keeping you up at night? What's your biggest concern?
Retirement.
Now shut up.
Tell me more, Brent.
Right? So now we're going to say, okay, retirement. So I'll circle it. In my example, I did life insurance, right? So
I meant life insurance.
Good job. Good story. So the example, I use life insurance. So, okay, life insurance. I'll flip the page over and I'll go number one. Number one concern is life insurance. Then I'm getting to what?
The pain.
Now I'm taking them down the pain funnel. So now it becomes the 8 questions in the pain funnel. Okay, David, life insurance. Can you tell me more? Can you be a little bit more specific?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if something happens to me, my family be provided for.
Writing it down. Everything they say, I'm writing it right down, and I did it again.
And by the way, on the pain funnel, those 8 questions, that's all. They need a copy of those. That's the cheat sheet for every. They're taking everyone down the same pain funnel each time. Because at the end, they'll know whether the person really is feeling enough pain and committed enough to do something about it or not. So the pain funnel questions won't change.
So the questions are, tell me more, can you be more specific? How long has that been a problem? What have you tried to do about it? How did that work? How much do you think it has cost you? How do you feel about it? And what have you given up to deal with the problem to deal with it? You know, I think you can simplify it even more.
Yeah.
If you remember, tell me more, can you be more specific? If you can remember time, cause, cost, consequence, those are the questions you ask around. You can make it real simple. You know, there's 8 questions on here, but I always led with tell me more. How long has it been an issue for you? There's time. What's caused you to have the problem of what you're thinking about, why it's number one and the reason. There's cause. What does it cost you? What have you done in the past to fix it? What do you think it's going to cost you if you don't do something on it? That's cost. And the consequence is, what is the consequence if you don't do anything about it now? Can you go another 2 years without dealing with the issue right now? It's all qualifications. There's no pain, there's no sale. So you can simplify this even more. If you go time, cause, cost, consequence, you know, you can remember those things and have a good conversation about pain. So then once I go through this, I'm writing everything down on the screen here, and you know, I'm taking notes of verbatim what it is that they're saying. Why? Because I want it to be their words, not mine. Because when I go back and I review what it is that we're doing, it's their words, it's not mine. You know, so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page of what it is that we do. So when we get back to it, I go through the pain funnel of number one, then I'll come back to this sheet and I say, okay, what else jumps out? And they'll tell me, in this case, we'll say, okay, it's my brokerage accounts, this is my non-qualified money. What do? Back to the pain funnel. Tell me more. Can you be a little bit more specific? What's bugging you about your brokerage account, your non-qualified money? How long have you had this issue? What's causing you to think about it now? What do you think it's going to cost you to kind of fix it?
And maybe, you know, I had a broker when we moved. No, the guy never calls me, or he's trading in my account, or I feel like the market took a turn. You're going to hear it all, right? It's all going to come out.
You'll hear it different for every single person, because if they're picking that and selecting that, there's a reason that's their pain.
How are you?
So I'll go through this, and again, and I'll maybe do it 3 times, and I'll say, okay, what else jumps out at you? You know, in this case, I'll say, hey, I haven't updated my will. Same thing. I go back to the thing of number 3, and I'm writing it down. Update our wills. Tell me more. Time, cause, cost, consequence. We're going through the pain funnel as we go through. So now I got a lot of data in terms of who it is that we're dealing with. We got a good snapshot of their financial life, and I have pain with 3 different items. And I would say to somebody, David, based on the 3 things we talked about, out of your snapshot of your whole financial life, are these where we want to prioritize right now, 1, 2, and 3? And they're going to say yes. So we're prioritizing those things as we go through it. The next part, as we continue to prioritize those, we've got to come up and qualify people financially. So now we're going to get into a discussion about how much money we're going to spend and what our budget is and what our future money commitment is based on the plan. So although we're really prioritizing the 3 key areas, Mike, what we like to do as a whole is we like to kind of figure out that everything's moving in the right direction as your overall plan of where it is that you can go. So when we talk about budget, I'm going to give an example here. I'm going to give a male 39, female 38 with a 7-year-old son and a $100,000 income. When we talk about budget, we've got to be really setting the stage of how much money that they can spend into what it is. And I'll go through the story of most people want to achieve financial independence, and they want that independence, Jeff, somewhere between the ages of 55 and 65. But financial independence really just means the ability to choose. And it's the ability to choose to do one of 3 things. That's work full-time, work part-time, or not work at all. That's the true definition of independence, because when you get to retirement, all you're doing is turning your nest egg into your own income, and you're paying yourself for the rest of your life. So what do you want to have as financial independence to be able to make the choice of where it is that you go through? To achieve financial independence, Rich, most people need to be saving between 15 and 20% of their gross income. The problem is 1 of 3 things can get in the way of that, and that's savings to achieve financial independence. 2 of them we can protect against. The other one, the most common one and what we want to talk about today, is the third one, is discipline. You know, we can plan for somebody dying prematurely and always self-completing their plan. It's the protection side of what it is that we do. If somebody gets sick or hurt, we can plan to have the plan be fully completed by the protection side of the planning process that we take somebody through. What we can't really account for is somebody's discipline in terms of constantly putting money in and investing inside of the plan. And a lot of that is thrown off, Mike, by what we call financial stresses. So when we talk about a budget and a money commitment today, what I want to make sure, Jeff, is we're going to make sure that no matter what happens in your life, whether you need a new roof, new tires in your car, the boiler blows up, or you need new windows, all of those financial stresses are not going to detract from the plan as what it is. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. So as we do that, we go through, if we're saving 20%, we need to be saving $20,000 a year of income. That's 20%. Currently we're saving $5,000. So our ideal deficit of what it is, we needed to be saving $15,000 a year. If we divided that by 12, it's approximately $1,200 a month of a budget if you would be optimally working towards financial independence and saving the 20% a year. So that's the question, is that comfortable? Most people will say what?
No, I don't have that.
Right, because it's a lot of money, right? And if they had $1,200 a month additionally to be saving into something, they're probably being a little bit more proactive and having you sit there as well, you know? So that's okay. And at this point, I'll do what we call bracketing. If they say no, I'll go down and say, I'll draw a line down and I'll say, okay, so David, we know it's not 0, right? Because if it was 0, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. What all bracketing does is it takes it down and it makes it more manageable, because even though they're telling you 1,200 is not enough, they're probably not going to come out and tell you, Rich, I got 500, here you go. They're not going to do that. But everybody has a budget in mind. People know what they can do. And I'll give the example when I teach this in a class of, you know, if you walk into Best Buy and you want to buy a TV, the first thing you're looking at is what? Price. You don't care what the features and benefits of what it is, because you have a budget for that TV. You know, you may look at this one up here and this one next to it. This one be $500 more, but it has way more features and benefits of what it would include. But you're not shopping on that; you're shopping on price. So everybody has a budget. You just got to get it out of them, because money talk and people talking money is a difficult place to have. Because from when we were kids and back to our parents, we were always taught what? Don't talk about money. And that's the way we're trained and the way we think. Don't talk about money. So we've got to get it away. And what bracketing does is says, okay, Jeff, if it's not $1,200 a month, we know it's not 0. Is it closer to 1,000? Can you see yourself doing 1,000 right now in your budget? And again, we don't want to be able to detract from any financial stresses that come up. What do you think of that? Is that comfortable?
He says no.
No, says no. I'd go down another 200. Jeff, what about 800? Well, you're going to say yes at this point, because this is my example.
Or he's going to say a number at that point.
Right.
So you just keep giving them
You
Right.
typically go down in $200 increments. Jeff, is $800 doable? Is this
Yeah,
comfortable?
that
Yeah.
looks good.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so if we took $800, that's $9,600 a year, plus the $5 we're already saving. That gives us a total budget of $14,600. If you went into every case and you could find a budget of $15,000, Rich, I think planning would be pretty easy, right? You know, what it is that we can do. So we found the budget. But people may say, you know what, David, I'm spending the $5 already. Well, that's okay, because part of our analysis and part of our process is we may want to move that around of what it is that you're already doing to make your plan overall more efficient and effective of where it is that you want to be based on the future goals that you have and based on where you are from a baseline. So if we took that total budget, we obviously have a shortfall and a deficit from our ideal situation. So if we got about a $5,000 deficit between our total budget and where we need to be ideally. So there's the part where we can find money in somebody's plan. So we want to find money and add it to the budget. One of the ways we can do that, Jeff, is we can take a look at your P&C insurance. Maddie, we can take a look at your home and your auto and your liability coverage, which are purely line items, they're pure cost for coverage. And if we can save you any money based on those premiums that you're paying by making small adjustments and coming back to you, can we take 100% of that, Mike, and commit it to your financial plan? They typically say what?
Yes,
Sure.
if you
Why?
can find the money.
Find the money. They're spending it already. So if we can save it and invest it for them, it's even better. Another way we do that is we can take a look at what interest rate you're paying on your mortgage. You know, typically rates are around 4 3/4, right?
yeah.
You will meet with people that you can save them money that have 5, 6, 7% mortgages that you can reinvest it. If we can work with you and kind of work with one of our strategic alliance partners and get your mortgage rate down to a comfortable level, can we take the savings in that plan and fully invest it into the plan? They will say yes, or they will say, you know what, a couple $100 a month is pretty nice. Maybe we take half of it. Okay, fine. I'm okay with that, right? Then the other way, these are things that we can affect the budget immediately. And then the future commitment of going forward in the future is it's always better to do something. It's always better to do something than nothing, right? It's always better to get going than not get going. So as we continue to build this plan out, it's okay that we're not at the optimum level, but in the future we want to increase and get closer to that level. So as part of the future money commitment, if you're like most people, David, you probably get a raise.
Sure.
What kind of percentage raise do you typically get?
3%.
Okay. Let's say it's 5%. So out of that 5%, out of that raise that you get, and again, guys, this will change your reviews because you have a future money commitment. Because I'm getting the buy-in to say yes, you can have money every single year when I get my raise. So if I get my raise and I say, okay, out of that raise, we know a third of it's going to the IRS, a third of it is probably going to your lifestyle. Susan, is it okay if we take a third of it and we put it into the plan? Yes or no? Future money commitment. Another way we can do it is, do you get a tax refund? Typically, Linda, what kind of tax refund do you get? They'll tell you. $5,000 a year, $3,000 a year. So, okay, out of that $3,000, we know the IRS are not getting a third of this because it's an overpayment, it's a refund to you. Let's say a third of it you want to take and go on that vacation that you typically use your tax refund for. Can we take a third of it and we'll put it into the plan? So I've taken a third of the raise and a third of the tax refund. Now I've found future money and a commitment to be able to fund the plan in the future. Next time I go back and do my review, I already know that I have a budget of set dollars. If I have 100 clients and I'm doing this for 100 people, my GDR at a base of my book of business should be X amount based on the book of business that I have every single year. It changes the dynamics of being a business owner and what it is you can do on a review.
Can you stop for a second? So some of the